Hello and welcome to another episode of All Things Aussie Footy, covering everything from the AFL to the AFLW, including the pre-season, post-season and the regular season results and information. My name is Ashley and today we will be covering everything from the round 10 review with the ladder, looking into round 11 preview and how all the teams are shaping up and giving you my tips in the games. Today's video is proudly supported by Rolla Games, who have released a board game called For Footy. Great game, great family game. You should go and copy it. All their links will be down below in the description below. So make sure you go and follow them on their socials and go and purchase the game as well. Brilliant game, great family, and thank you again to Rolla Games for jumping on board with us for this year and hopefully for many years to come. So round 10, this video is probably going to be very short. It's just going to be the AFL based stuff at the moment. Not a lot's coming through, so this video may be quite short compared to the recent ones as well and ones that are coming out. So round 10, we started off Friday night footy, Carlton and Sydney. Carlton ultimately running away with a massive win, proving their dominance in the AFL this year and showing why they should be threatened as a finals contending team or maybe even a premiership contending team. So Carlton running away a 15-12, 102 to 13-9, 87 win over the Swans. Great all-round performance by Carlton. Big props to them, holding off Sydney. I can't really say much. Just watch out for Carlton. Yeah. If you're not on the bandwagon already, maybe you should. Saturday, we see the Bulldogs play up against the Gold Coast Suns. Bulldogs home game. Gold Coast coming off a massive win against Fremantle. Bulldogs obviously considered favourites in this one. Gold Coast, to me, Gold Coast had a bit of a chance in this game. But the Bulldogs are proving too strong, running away with a 15-16, 106 to a 13-9, 87 win. Geelong and Port Adelaide were the game that followed them on Saturday afternoon football. Massive Saturday. Geelong running away with a 11-16, 82 to Port Adelaide 7-5, 47 win. So Geelong proving why they are strong at home at GMHBA Stadium, proving why 2020 they made that grand final versus Richmond, why they should be kind of considered to make their way back into another grand final or even just late into September action by beating Port Adelaide. North Melbourne ultimately, as per usual, did come up with a loss against Melbourne. So Melbourne coming off a very strong performance versus West Coast the following week. I thought this game, they blow North Melbourne out by 100 points plus. Not really, but the experience on both sides, Melbourne playing the grand final in the premiership last year, and just how strong they actually are. I thought Melbourne might be just way too strong and just absolutely blow them out of the water like they did against West Coast last week. But Melbourne running away with a 14-16, 100 to an 8-5, 53 win. So it was only 47 points in the end, but I thought it could be a lot more. It could have been a lot more, but that's just the way it's played. Adelaide and St Kilda were the game that followed at the Adelaide Oval. As I said in the last video, big game, big week for both clubs. Both needing much needed wins. Adelaide unfortunately could not get the win over St Kilda, going down 9-15, 69 to 14-6, 90. Adelaide did fight back last year from 36 points down at the beginning of the second quarter in Cairns, just like Port Adelaide did a couple of weeks ago when we played them in Cairns, but not this time anyway. Adelaide did try and forge some sort of comeback, but their inaccuracy in front of goal really did let them down. So St Kilda with another big win, which at this stage they'll put into the 4, so they might be a strong contender to maybe go deep into finals. They did make finals in 2020, knocking out the Bulldogs, going through to a semi-final versus Richmond, but ultimately losing that one. So hopefully St Kilda can kind of show what they're capable of this year and might somewhat be pushing for a grand final berth, which will be our first grand final since, I believe, 2010 when we drew that one against Collingwood but then got annihilated the week later. Dreamtime at the G, massive game like I said in the last video. Both teams coming in needing wins. Richmond ultimately proving way too strong this time around against a Essendon outfit, running with an 11-14-80 to a 7-6-48 win. Big games by their big players. Great to see the stars out in the field. A couple of the VFL, AFL listed players performing that Dreamtime dance before the game, the war cry. So it was great to see that, still getting the team involved. They all got around each other, whether they're playing or not. It was great to see. Sunday we started with the Giants and West Coast. West Coast surprised me a little bit this game. They did get to 86 points, kicking 13 goals. But the Giants have proven why they're up there and why they need to be worried. Probably not so much against West Coast, but they're kind of starting to find their momentum. They're starting to hit a gear shift and push their way in. Ultimately, GWS running away with a 21-12, 138 to a 13-8, 86 win. Absolutely dominating by the Giants in front of the home fans. Bouncing off a loss to Carlton a week before in front of their home fans. So hopefully that win drags a few more supporters from Sydney or Greater New South Wales through into the western suburbs and getting them to a game whenever they're at home again. Hawthorn and Brisbane, like I said, this was going to be a big game being played at UTES Stadium. It did prove to be a big game. Actually, it proved to be a massive game with 229 points scored in it. Both teams cracking the ton. Hawthorn running away with an 18-9, 117 to Brisbane's 17-10, 112. It's a great win by Hawthorn there, especially at UTES Stadium. Brisbane ultimately going to have to jump back on that flight and on their way back up and get prepared for GWS next week at the Gabba. What could have been, but it's in the books now. Just move on to next week. Ultimately rounding out round 10, we saw Fremantle and Collingwood being played at Optus Stadium. Like I said, it was going to be raining, it was going to be wet, it was going to be freezing cold, and those were the exact conditions for that game. Fremantle, unfortunately, did come away with a loss. They're just not a wet weather football team. They came away with a 6-8-44 to a 12-8-80 loss. So hopefully, going into next week's matchup away from home against Melbourne might give them some confidence, but not really confidence, but might kind of wake them up a little bit, knowing we're coming up against the premiership team, we're coming up against a team that is going to be considered to be going back to back. What do we do? What do we change from this game? Go and revisit some tape, work out what you're going to do, then look at how Melbourne play, compare that, and work out your game plan from there. But ultimately, Fremantle did come away with a bit of a loss against Collingwood at Optus Stadium in front of their fans. Sad to see, but they did put up a good fight. Let's just hope they can kind of bounce it through. But switching the attention to the ladder, obviously Melbourne with that win this week, they are still on top, undefeated, 10-0 going in to round 11. Brisbane still in second, followed by Carlton and Fremantle in the 4. So Carlton moving up a spot again, proving why they might actually be considered to playing potentially in a qualifying final, even into if they win that, to a prelim or even a semi-final if that's the case, but proving why they are a threat for September action. St Kilda sitting 5th, kind of up and down in between 3 to I reckon about 6th or 7th on the ladder. They're jumping up and down, but hopefully as the season goes on they kind of start to settle down and we see them kind of stay a little bit, hopefully make it into the top 4. but if not, even just making finals would be great to see again. Geelong, Sydney and Richmond are rounding out your 8. 3 powerhouse clubs sitting 6, 7 and 8. I was expecting kind of Richmond to be a little bit higher, same with Geelong. But they're kind of making a statement as to why we are looking at finals. The Bulldogs, Collingwood, both 5 and 5 on the season, so 50% win ratio. Still knocking on finals. The Bulldogs, yes, they finished 7th last year and made the grand final. They've done it before in 2016, I think it was, when they beat Sydney in the grand final. They finished 6th or 7th that year. So they could still make their way into finals, squeeze into finals somehow. Obviously kind of knocking on where Geelong, Sydney and Richmond are sitting, but knocking on that spot with finals. Same deal with Collingwood. So they're definitely kind of still in the race. Port, Gold Coast and Hawthorn 4 and 6. They are they're teams that kind of need to get back on track with their season. Gold Coast are proving to be a shock this year. They're 4 and 6. They're still in with a chance of playing finals football. Whether they do or not is just another story. But I hope I do see them in finals. It'll be good to see. The Giants and Adelaide on 3 and 7. Both slowly getting their season back on track, but not as much as what most people would have loved to have seen. But we'll give them credit. They're fighting their way. They're still in it. They still make finals. It's not over for them. It's just a very slow process. Hopefully we see them win a few more games. Essendon, the sole team on 2 and 8 after 10 games. Like I said, it's very tough for them to make finals. I mean, Adelaide and Giants have a slim chance. Essendon, very low chance of playing finals, but they're not completely out of it just yet. If they can somehow notch up a few more wins, they might find themselves kind of within the doorframe of a final series, but probably not this year. They're sitting maybe 11, 12, 13th. If they could get a couple of more wins, might actually see them bounce up and go, right, this is where we're at, let's try and come through. They did make finals last year, but I just don't think they have a team this year to try and break that hoodoo for them. And like I've been saying, North Melbourne and West Coast, both 1 and 9, sitting 17th and 18th respectively due to percentage. They're both going to get a priority pick this year in this year's draft, whether it be first, second or third, battling it out with Essendon. But I'm going to put a line through West Coast and North Melbourne now. I can't see them making finals. I think for them to make finals, they need to win every game from here on out. If they don't, well, then that's it. Season done. Thanks for coming. We'll catch you guys next year. So put a line through those guys. They're sitting about 500 to 1 odds to win a premiership anyway. I think they're both sitting at about $200-300 to just even make the top 8. So unfortunately, I just scratched those 2 teams out. But that's how your ladder is sitting at the moment. Couple of shocks in there, couple not so shocking areas, like Melbourne being 10 and 0. That ain't shocking, but we can only move on into round 11 and see how it all goes and see how it all unfolds. The ladder will start taking shape. So bye weeks don't start this week, they start next week. So hopefully by then we see where the ladder is sitting. So next video that comes out will be when the bye weeks start. But going into round 11, we do start with Sydney again having a Friday night game, this time at home to Richmond. Obviously a lot of speculation about Dusty Martin, where he's going next year. Damien Hardwick has also given him his blessing if he wanted to move from Richmond and go and join Sydney or GWS. But this may be the last time we see Dusty in a Richmond jersey playing at the SCG, unless somehow they do play each other in a finals game and it's back at the SCG. But at this stage, we all believe that this could be Dusty's last game in a Richmond jersey at the SCG. Whether it won't be his last game at the SCG itself, but there is speculation that he's going to be leaving Richmond at the end of the year for a new club to kind of rejuvenate where he wants to be sitting with football and all the rest of it. So that's played at the SCG between Sydney and Richmond. Saturday footy, we start with Brisbane and the Giants at the Gabba. A big game for both clubs, I should say. Brisbane coming off a loss, unfortunately, to Hawthorn in a high-scoring game at UTS Stadium. The Giants, well, they're coming off a massive win against West Coast. So anything can happen with those guys. Be interesting to see. Geelong and Adelaide at GMHBA Stadium. Geelong having a big win there last week against Port Adelaide. Now they need to back it up against Adelaide, so they played the Adelaide teams a week apart. But anything can happen. Just because you beat one Adelaide team or one team within that region doesn't mean you're going to beat the next. But ultimately, I feel like Geelong, I did forget putting my tips for the first two games. So the first game was Sydney and Richmond. I'm going back Sydney for that one. The next game was Brisbane and GWS. I'm backing Brizzy. Geelong and Adelaide, I'm backing Geelong for. Melbourne, Fremantle at the G. Like I said to you guys in the last video, the big game for Fremantle will be when they come up against Melbourne. Whether it's at the G, whether it's at Optus Stadium, or whether it's in Whoop Whoop. This will be the game that decides Fremantle's future. If they win this, well, we know they're real. The whole flag mantle situation is real. They are going to fight for a premiership. If they lose, well, the season's obviously not over, but it just means they're going to have to find a way to actually win that. So Melbourne, Fremantle at the G, big game. I think a lot of people are going to go and back Melbourne for this, but like I said, anything can happen. West Coast and the Bulldogs at Optus, a big game for both clubs. Can't wait to see how this one plays out. Ultimately, West Coast have been below expectation this year. I'm backing the Bulldogs for this one. Rounding out the Saturday Saturday of football is Gold Coast and Hawthorn, TIO Stadium in Darwin. Gold Coast, yeah, they're up and down at the moment. They did have a loss to the Bulldogs, unfortunately, but they are playing in Darwin. It is classified as a Gold Coast home game, even though it's not on the Gold Coast. Hawthorn coming off a big win and a much needed win at that against Brisbane, I think it was. Yep, it was Brisbane. Bouncing back from that, they're going to want to take that momentum into this game. So I think ultimately I will back Hawthorn for this game. It is going to be a big game for them, but they've definitely got the power to come out and show them, you know, we are young, but we are ready for a finals push. St Kilda, North Melbourne at Marvel on the Saturday. Big game. St Kilda want to win to stay in touch with the four. North Melbourne want to win to kind of leave the Eagles down at the bottom of the ladder. Ultimately, St Kilda are going to win this one by 40 plus, I reckon. Max King going to have a big day out, I reckon, so it'll be interesting to see. But St Kilda by 40 plus for me. Collingwood and Carlton at the G. That'll be a big game. Same, like I said before, it'll be the same as sort of the situation with Hawthorn Brisbane. Collingwood and Carlton will be a big game, will be a big matchup. Can't wait for it. Ultimately, I've got Collingwood to beat Carlton at the G. Something's just telling me Carlton are going to somewhat crumble. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be under 10 points. But Carlton are going to crumble within the last couple of minutes and allow Collingwood to somewhat bounce back and win. Port Adelaide and Essendon at the Adelaide Oval. There is talks that there could be showers this day. There is talks that there may not be. Will be interesting to see. If there is rain, Essendon might have a chance. They do play great football in wet weather. Port Adelaide not so much. If there isn't and it's mostly dry, well, Port Adelaide are going to kick away, but it all comes down to what the weather gods say. Ultimately, I'm going to back Port Adelaide for this one over Essendon. Like West Coast, Essendon's been below average, so I can't really see them coming into this game going, okay, we've got this by 40 plus or whatever. Raining, different story, it will be a close game. either way it'll be a close game. But Port Adelaide do have an upper hand on Essendon, but it'll be a cracking game. But I got Port Adelaide for me with that one. So, but with that being said, like I said, guys, this is going to be a short episode, pretty much short episode. Not much to talk about in terms of news that's come through. But other than that, guys, unfortunately, this episode done. Can't wait to bring you guys the results for round 11. Cracking round of football coming up. Make sure you guys tune in for that. Let me know in the comments down below, or even message me on Facebook, or leave a comment on Facebook, and let me know what you guys are thinking of these videos. Let me know what you guys think of the games. I may even start doing some feedback and reading some reviews on the channel before a video, or even do a little segment in between. But other than that, guys, this is another episode done. Thank you for tuning in. Again, go and copy yourself a Mad Footy game thanks to Rolla Games. All the links down in the description below. Give us a like on Facebook at All Things Aussie Footy. Leave us a subscribe, press the subscribe button, leave a thumbs up, put a comment down as well. Give me some feedback, guys, and I'll respond to you guys. If I don't, I do apologise. I have been a little bit flat out between work and football and all the rest of it. But other than that, guys, that's another episode wrapped up and done. Can't wait to see you guys next week. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.